Clayton, is kind of a hypothetical, but Shane says Cam's banged up, David Spalding's banged up. Who do you play at nickel if both those guys can't go?
Well, right now we're just trying to work through some guys, and we had Marcel play nickel last week, so he's still available, which is great. That's why we, throughout the fall camp and throughout the summer, we train about 4 guys to play certain positions, and I think this is when you need it the most, absolutely.
Hey, Clayton, how would you evaluate Nick's performance after his first SEC game, the things he did well and things he needs to work on?
Yep, I thought first and foremost he had the right demeanor, the right mindset, and just approaching the game like it was like another game. And he didn't make it too big. He didn't get himself overexcited. I think that's half of the battle is the mental part. Obviously, he flew around and had a lot of solo tackles. I think you can do that, and I think some things he can improve on, the little details, things which most guys are trying to grind at this week. And I think he did a really good job for his first time.
Kind of the same line of questioning there, Clayton. With Nick's been playing very well in place of RJ, but if RJ can't go or if RJ can go, do you still got to keep Nick on the field somewhere? I mean, has he earned that right to say even if Roderick gets back, you got to put him and worry somewhere else?
Well, I mean, football on defense, we're always trying to find a way to get the best 11 on the field at all times, regardless. I mean, there's packages and there's other ways to get guys on the field, but just talking about Nick himself, I think he's doing a good job and working hard, and I know RJ is he's biting at the bit to get back, so we're excited to get him back.
Georgia's got a tight end room that poses a lot of different challenges. You got Bowers, Gilbert, some different skill sets. How do you go about preparing for a group that can just do so many different things?
Well, and then obviously most teams are going to have about 4 tight ends. I mean, Georgia they use all their tight ends, which is a really good job by them, using those guys' skill set. I think the most important thing is that we have to go out and make sure we get a line correctly. And when you're at practice, you have multiple guys obviously trying to replicate those their position.
Clayton, Shane talks a lot about stopping the run, defensively being a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Arkansas had some success on the ground. From a schematic standpoint, what can you do within that 4-2-5 defense to really fortify some of those issues you guys have had stopping the run?
Yep. Obviously, we feel like we harp on it a lot, and there's multiple ways we can do some things. We just have to make sure it's the right fit, make sure it's the right thing that we can do for our defense. But we can obviously be multiple. We have to be more multiple against these kind of teams, especially a running quarterback team, and obviously a power team like Georgia. So we got to be very smart on how we go about this game.
With Sherrod stepping back into the starting lineup now, what have you seen from him over the last 2 years, both mentally and physically, in being able to get back onto the field, and how do you anticipate seeing him kind of being able to fill those shoes that Mo's leaving now?
Yep. Unfortunately, what happened to Mo Kaba. Obviously, we're praying for Mo, and we really hope that trying to make sure their mental well-being is the most important thing. I think Sherrod has, he's been, he's obviously he know what Mo's going through, so he's not taking this for granted. So he's definitely in meetings locked in. He's at practice locked in. I think that's the main thing that he can take from this. That he's been there before, so he knows that it can be taken away at any moment. So he's trying to cherish it.
There were like 21 missed tackles against Arkansas and about 160 yards of yards gained after contact. That's very much unlike your defenses so far. What did you see out there related to those breakdowns?
It really comes down to the details and obviously us finishing plays. Yards after contact is something you don't want to have on your defense. You want your first or second guy there to knock the ball down and stop the charge. It's one of those things where I think our defense right now, as a whole, it starts with me, that we're taking a lot of pride in just being more physical at the point of contact. We got to make those tackles. We got to get those guys down, stop their feet, so they can't get those yards after contact, regardless of the size or the situation. But we got to be better at that, obviously. And obviously our guys, I like how they're taking it on this week as a pride thing. And that's the first way. It has to start inside the locker room instead of us. It can't always be the coaches. I think they're doing a good job of trying to change some things.
Clayton, you touched on this a little bit with Mo, but losing both him and Jordan as a coach, how do you deal with just the emotional blow of that as a team, while also getting guys ready to step up and step in for both of those guys?
Yeah, you have to be a man about it. You definitely have to be a man about it. One, and like I said earlier, I think the most important thing with those guys is their mental state of being. Make sure they're still up, their spirits are still up, and they're still got their chest up. They put in all the work. They have no regrets, and I think that's the first thing as a coach that you have to make sure that that's genuine, and it is. 'Cause I missed some of my senior year as well, so I know that feeling. But as far as getting other guys to step up, other guys have to understand that, it's a next man up business, but it's not personal against those other guys, obviously. But I think our guys understand, we've been through this last year at another position, so everybody has to pick up their play.
Clayton, going back to the tackling, when you have a week like last week, do you have to, take some time out of practice and stress, tackling drills, or was that just something saying like, look, it was 1 week and, it happens, and as you said, the guys are working on it in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Beamer made sure we had a couple more minutes to work on some tackling, and we did a little bit more live work, and just to make sure that our guys are understanding what it takes the kind of condition it takes to be in, the tackle and bring another man to the ground who's running full speed. So getting a little bit more of that time for sure.
DQ Smith is not the first quarterback to ever move to defensive back. Is there, based on your experience, is there a certain thing that as a coach, when I got a quarterback moving to defensive back, I need to make sure that they learn these specific things, and how is he doing at that?
Yep. I thought you was going to say that you knew I did that, so, but nah, so the most important thing when you have a quarterback comes to play defensive back, a lot of guys have done that. The first thing is, as a coach, you want to see, can he tackle? All right, you understand that he's going to have a different football IQ, understanding of the game, because of obviously he was a leader in his high school. But that's the first thing you find out: can they tackle? Are they afraid of contact? Are they going to shy away from it? And then once you go from there, and then obviously the movement skills going backwards and lateral, do they have that? And then you just go from there, and it's really fun to coach those kind of guys.
Clayton, you mentioned being multiple defensively. What, from a defensive coordinator standpoint, what does that look like, and how do you go about maybe coaching that throughout the week to get guys prepared to be multiple?
It's one of those words that get thrown around in football. People just say it. Some people say it, some people do it, some people don't. And what I mean by that is, like, obviously you can play different fronts, you can play different coverages to help certain things based on what the offense is giving you.
Coach Beamer's talked a lot about depth, especially now with the injuries. What have you seen from the guys behind, Green and Edmond stepping in, like as Stone Blanton or Tyree Johnson, who might get more play? How have you seen that depth develop?
Well, it's definitely developed. We know we're in a league that where at any time, you could be on your third guy playing or your fourth guy playing. So we always trying to develop our young guys in our program, through our strength program, through the way we practice. So for the most part, those guys are getting more reps at practice now, so you get to see more, and it's awesome to watch them run around. But we're excited to see the depth that you guys get a chance to see some of those guys play.
Got to follow up to the multiple question, but obviously Stetson Bennett's played a lot of football. The entire offense has played a lot of football. How do you go about disguising some of that stuff, and is it harder to do against a guy that's played a lot of snaps in football?
It's definitely harder to do against a guy who's played a lot of snaps in football, because they understand what's real and what's not real, and they can understand how fronts connect with coverages. And if this guy's not walked out, they know that's a false look. So you can do that with a younger quarterback, a quarterback who hasn't really been, taught the right way, but just trusting the fact that I know that the games he's played in, the defense he's gone against at practice and in games, it's going to be hard to disguise against him, but you still have to do it to make him work. You can disguise, like if you're blitzing one way, you can show the other way. If you roll in coverage one way, you can roll, just right pre-snap stuff that you see safeties do, and linebackers. And against a guy like that, you have to dig a little deeper. That's not going to be enough just to safety. So
Zach Pickens had a really good game Saturday. Just what'd you see from him, and then just what have you seen him grow since you've been here?
Yep, that was one of the first times that I've seen Zach play 60. I think he played 60 snaps as a defensive tackle. I think that's a lot. And I think that he went from the beginning to the end. He didn't want to come out. Or he never wants to come out, but it's one of those things where he wanted to go back in and make a play. And he was coaching on the sideline. There's definitely some growth there, in which you love to see in a senior, as someone who's trying to maximize their potential. And I think he's trying his best. That was one of his better games as far as making plays in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. Thank you.